Welcome to the Navigator Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Navigator Podcast. My name is Brad Malone, and with me is Robert Hammond, one of our senior consultants. Thanks for taking the time, Robert. I know that we've been busy towards the end of the year.
Absolutely. It's the story of the industry, right? Everybody gets busy around this time, but it's great. It's good to be here.
Exactly. Well, and one of the stories we also want to talk about is kind of the motto of why do something once when you can do it twice? And, you know, you've been in several companies and now consulted with several more, and I've worked with hundreds. And I just see this kind of, it's almost endemic to the industry of it's about adrenaline and it's about energy versus progress and doing it right once. Kind of where do you see that, or have you seen that? And then what do you think about that?
Yeah, I have. You know, I think it's a real common characteristic of most companies that you look at in this industry. And for me, it comes out in two ways, two very funny ways that on the surface, they sound like opposites, but in reality, they're the same. They're the same set of problems. You know, one is you hear of these heroic efforts that teams make all the time, right? It's Friday, it's 4 o'clock, we're about to leave the job site. We ask the client to come in and take a look, and something goes sideways. They find a problem or something, but they have to use it Monday morning. So then we work over the weekend to get it working right. We call in our Superman technician that can fix anything and everything, fly them out or drive them out, and they come out on site and fix it. We get it working by Monday morning and the client is happy. And we get back to the office and everybody in the office is thrilled that we worked so hard to get everything done. And then the other way I see this is that, you know, a lot of companies talk about how the last 10% is handled very poorly, or that they can't, quote unquote, finish strong, right? And there's always a loose end, and then something's always not right for the customer and they're calling us back. But we go back out and we fix it, and the customer loves us, and they sing our praises because we jumped right on top of it and fixed it as soon as they needed. You know, for me, those are two sides of the same coin. They just present in different ways. And, you know, like you said, it's that adrenaline thing. Most people in this industry come from that technical background. So we love to put our heads down, you know, get into the details and fix the really hard problems at critical moments. You know, and then we get back and then everybody in the company is telling us how wonderful we are because we did that. And it's just feeding our dopamine levels all the time. So it just feels like the right way to work all the time. So yeah, I see it very widely across this industry.
Well, and I think if we reward heroism, in effect, you could say we reward poor planning. And we reward poor follow through. And again, that's like sitting on both sides of that coin you're talking about. It's like, did we not have a checklist early on that somebody checked off or didn't check off? And it's like, you know, that's kind of boring. And so I think that excitement really has something to play in this industry. And again, we measure people by busyness. Man, do you look busy? Man, I am busy. Am I adding value? I don't know about that, but man, I'm busy.
Right. How many desks are we moving around? How many feet are on the hallway? Had somebody one time, they said, I can judge how good an employee is because how fast they walk down the hallway. I said, okay, well, that's probably not the end all be all, but you know,
but it's a measure.
It's something. All right,
so if we could like think through, how do we shift that? Or what are 2 or 3 things that we could say to people to really have them breathe and rethink, is this really what we want to reward? And this really what we want to practice? Right.
Yeah. I always, for me, there's a couple of things. I always question the people, you know, how did we get to 4 o'clock on a Friday when the client needs the room the next day? How did we get there and are just now figuring out if it works, right? Or that last 10%, why aren't we thinking about the 10% way earlier in advance? Right. You know, and for me, I always tell people it's all about the plan. You have to plan. And then the natural response I get in this industry is, well, why would I sit around and spend hours and hours of my time making this really beautiful Microsoft project file when it's all going to just change when I come into work the next morning? And I said, well, you're missing the point now, because planning is constant. You start your plan by the operating procedures you put in place for your company, the things that don't change from job to job. How are you training your people? What are the templates you have in use? What does that default project plan look like? That plan is then started there before you even take an opportunity. And then when you're in the estimation phase, you're then applying those standard plans to this unique instance of work for a client. That's where your plan starts to take a little bit more shape. And then once you're awarded the job, you're planning a little bit more at the beginning of it, but you're just refining all of the work that's already been done before. You're not starting from scratch. Right. And then after that's done, you're just modifying and keeping it up to date. And if you don't do that, how do you know where you're going to go? How do you know what you have to do for that job? How do you know what has been missed? How do you know what you can eliminate from the things that you no longer need to do, right? How can you save yourself time, right? So for me, planning is it's the life of an organization, right? You can't get around it, and you're gonna struggle if you don't do it.
Yeah, you can be successful, but man, it's going to be a struggle. Mm-hmm. I run into project managers all the time and executives who say, I don't know how we got here. And I'm like, this project's in crisis. And I always use the phrase, a crisis is the instantaneous end of a delusion. So without a plan, it's kind of like we're just sipping from the cup going, man, I think it's really good until it's not. And then as much repeatability as we have in this industry, I don't know why we continue to be surprised.
Right. It feels good though, right? I think it all comes back to what you were talking about earlier. The customers tell us how great of a job we did because we came out and saved them. But for me, when I'm personally looking at a project, I don't want to thank you for saving it at the end. I just want it done. I want it done
correctly throughout, predictably. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have excitement or changes or things like that. But to me, there's that internal excitement to it. So like, oh, this was a challenge versus, no, I have to put my cape on. And if I have to put my cape on and my theme music on, that wasn't a reward. That wasn't a positive. That was the lack, again, of planning. So
right. And this industry is filled with challenge, right? I mean, it's technology. It's constantly changing. You have no control over your vendors. There's always going to be some sort of rush during a project, right? That you're going to have to deal with, and you're going to have to use your brain. But for me, they shouldn't be self-imposed. Right? I want to focus on those fun things. I started off as a technician, as an engineer, and it is fun to figure out technical problems. But I don't want to figure out why I caused myself a problem. Right? That's no fun. And usually people don't do that. They kind of put their blinders on and act like they didn't cause their own problem. But no, spend the time on the things that provide value, not
right. Well, hopefully people will listen to this one and kind of go, where do I fit in that spectrum? And again, what are 2 or 3 things that I could do to change it if I so desire? Again, insanity, everybody has the right to be insane. But it's when I really want to make noticeable improvements, I've got to change how I manage myself and how I plan. So appreciate the time. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.